Got another video for today, sight unseen. Haven't even watched it, so we're just going to be doing a blind react to Richard Ramirez, also on death row at the time, looking at his interview and just trying to see what we can see from this. So let's go.
The horror began in June 1984. Los Angeles was under siege. Death waited in the dark at the hands of a man they called the Night Stalker. After a 14-month reign of terror, he was finally caught. It was only then that his true identity was discovered. His name, Richard Ramirez.
Richard Ramirez's whole trip was to hide in a tree or hide behind a fence and watch his victims at nighttime and wait into the wee hours of the night. And then while they slept, creep in, like a coward and kill.
The Night Stalker.
That is a perfect way to describe his actions. Move swiftly in the dead of night and move in a way that is like nobody knows I'm there. There is a certain kind of individual that sort of cloaked. I wait for the nighttime, and if you pay attention to this individual, I don't want to be seen. I want to be unassuming. I don't want to be recognized. And so I wait till nighttime, and I might watch you in the daytime. I might come stalk you in the daytime, come see whatever that I need to see, or I might pull up to a certain place at nighttime and just watch you from afar, watch you from a distance, watch you from a place to where I know you can't see me, and I'm hiding behind the fence or something like that, hiding behind a tree or something like that. Just any place to where I know you can't see me. And I've gotten really good at this. And so to be able to wait, and then the thrill, there's a thrill seeking behavior. There's a thrill there that I see you maybe on the house. I see you going up the stairs, and then I wait till you go into the house, and then I run up and I get up, try to check and see if anybody's watching, and then I run up and hopefully nobody's watching through the window, and I run up again into the tree, and I just wait. And I'm breathing. I'm just trying to, get my heart rate down, because it's a thrill. What if I get caught? I'm willing to risk it, And so I'm seeing, and this isn't a time. People are advantage of the circumstances and the situation. So people back in the day didn't really used to lock their doors, right? And so he was able to sneak in and take advantage of that, knowing that people didn't lock their doors. He was able to sneak in and say, okay, hey, I want to sneak in and then do whatever and feel like I want to do this under the cloak of night and able to get away with it. And so that's the mind there. And so I like how he described it as it's cowardly.
These 13 times, 13 people who were awakened in the night to face death. At least 15 others survived his brutal attacks.
I didn't particularly care for people.
In a rare interview, Ramirez refused to discuss his own crimes, but had this to say about serial killers.
A serial comes about by circumstances and like a recipe: poverty, drugs, child abuse. These things, contribute to a person's frustration and anger. And at some point in life, he explodes.
Perhaps
there is a coping mechanism called intellectualization, and that's what he's doing here. So you see his face moving a lot. And we talked about Charles, we talked about Eileen, and you see a lot of times Charles is looking at you and he's trying to convince you, but Eileen she's all this and that. Don't you understand? Don't you? But he's just. Well, one of the things is that we should be careful, and a lot of things come of the circumstances, and so he's very intellectual about how things came in terms of his situation. And so he's a student. He used to study. And again, when we talk about societal norms, right, there are certain ways that people choose to deal with things, and this is a way that he's chosen to deal. He said, I don't really like how people do things. You see a commonality. I don't like the way in which people do things. There's a commonality between these three. I don't like people. And sometimes there is, within the mindset of an individual, you get to a place to where you just snap. And this is where I snap, because it's like this sort of, the world is crashing down. It's like an element of anxiety. The world is crashing down and coming on me. And so it feels like everybody's bad. All things are bad. Everything is bad. And so what is going to happen if the world doesn't stop becoming bad? Everything just starts crashing down on me, and I got to do something about it. And if I don't do something about it now, then I'm going to have to. And so, well, Richard, why would that make you prey on innocent people? Well, maybe she's not innocent. Maybe she did this, or maybe she did that. I don't know. But all I need to know is that we need to find a way to stop this. So he's intellectualizing and saying, you know, serial unalivers came along about this way. He doesn't necessarily, they cut the interview when he has an opportunity to say his own reason why he's doing it, just as of yet, but it's very interesting how
for Richard Ramirez, that anger and frustration turned to rage, which he in turn took out on his victims. His were so sadistic and brutal that even experienced detectives were shocked.
He took a woman in her 60s and stomped her to death with his foot, leaving an imprint of a shoe on the side of her face. From that to just executing somebody upon walking into a room after he entered a house. He strangled, he used a ligature, he used a tire iron on a young girl, beat her, left her for dead.
Will your anger subside if you had to wipe up your mother's blood? I couldn't finish it. I had to leave my brother to finish that chore.
Why on earth would you have hurt those people? Why did you kill those people?
No comment. I cancel it at this time.
What was Richard's motive? That's it?
It's as simple as that.
Richard Ramirez was raised in El Paso, Texas, the youngest of 5 children born to hardworking, strict parents. Eddie Milam was Richard's best friend back then and remembers when he began to change into a troublemaker.
I did start seeing something going wrong with Ricky Ramirez. I think what really messed him up was the acid. He would do a lot of acid. The stealing, you know, I noticed the stealing and then started at the peeping Tom and things like that.
Ramirez's passion for burglary earned him the nicknames of Ricky the Thief and Fingers, but Eddie knew Ramirez had other serious problems when he was...
There it is. You see how he's walking? Strutting, got my head down. I'm strutting in, I got my head down. He feels forgotten. And he feels like people don't pay enough attention to him. And so in that way, there's, I don't want to call it an injustice, but it feels like I'm an outcast. I hate being an outcast. I can't stand being an outcast. You know, you just because I'm the quiet kid, you don't, I'll show you, that, because maybe one of the things is that being an outcast, being a quiet kid, maybe he had acne as a kid, maybe there was something other, some thing that, people, maybe imperfection that he didn't like about himself, that he felt like he wasn't getting maybe enough attention from boyfriends or whatever, from mom, from dad, from aunts, uncles, and that he was just more forgotten, and that can do something to an individual. So I think that's where it's coming from.
Fired from a local hotel.
He said he was fired, he was dismissed due to the cause that he had 2 little kids that were going up the elevator.
By 18, Ramirez was a high school dropout, drifting around
You don't respect me, you don't respect my contribution because you think I'm forgettable.
California. He stayed in Skid Row hotels, never seemed to work, but always had the money to buy cocaine. Friends say the Richard Ramirez they knew didn't date and wasn't the type to commit such heinous crimes. But convicted Martin Kipp, who befriended Ramirez in prison, says he heard another side of the Night Stalker.
Richard told me he needed to associate gruesome violence with sex in order to be completely satisfied. He also told me that he had to violently fantasize about his victims before he could go away sexually gratified.
They are desires, whereas if I give in to them, I would be crushed by them. I believe in the evil in human nature. This is a wicked world. In a wicked world, wicked people are born. I'm not going to blame society, my race, or people, or anything.
There's another motivation, secondary motivation. I have to. So because we're unaliving people. Now we need to know why you're unaliving the people that you're unaliving who have nothing to do with anything. Well, if I'm going to forgotten, if I'm going to be disrespected, and of course it makes sense that it would be targeted toward women. If I'm going to be an outcast, if I'm going to be disrespected, if nobody's going to pay attention to me, specifically the people that I want to pay attention to me, which is women, because I want a girlfriend, and maybe I'm not getting that, then I would target women.
It is up to the individual like myself to keep on knocking on whatever door they want to get into.
Because the victims and the methods are so diverse, many experts felt there was no one Night Stalker. Detectives Carrillo and Salerno disagreed and finally broke the case by matching shoe prints. The subsequent trial turned into one of America's most notorious courtroom dramas, punctuated by continual outbursts from Ramirez.
There's an element who wants to be cool, again, because I am cast into the shadows of society. So the shades, the suit, the way I get up and I tuck my hands in my pants, you know, I put my hands in my pockets. There's an element of me wanting to be cool, but I also want to show everybody that I'm smarter than you by, you know, kind of changing up or switching up the way that I commit crimes. And so that all goes to show that because you cast me out of society, you fired me from this job, I will show you guys, and everything is going to be directed back towards the women that didn't pay him attention, the jobs that fired him, the friends that didn't respect him, the moms, whatever attention I didn't get that I thought I should have received, that's where it's going to be directed at. So every time I do something and I get away with something, I first think that showed them.
In that trial, Ramirez's fascination with Satanism emerged.
As far as Satan is concerned, I believe in a malevolent being.
Right.
His description eludes me, but I have powers that are evil.
After an 8-month trial, Ramirez was convicted of all 13.
And you see again a common theme amongst the three, Warnos, Manson, and this guy. There's a justification of why I'm doing. And the justification comes here. There is an evilness, and there's that goes toward the primality of my being, my instinct of who I want to be.
And given multiple death sentences.
I don't care about myself, really. You know, I don't care about what happens to me. I never did, really.
Very interesting, very cool as we see the last look, the glasses, the shades up. How you like me now? Kind of look. So very interesting. Again, if you like this video, we're doing more of these. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Stay tuned for anything else that I got coming up. But till next video, take it easy.